This video is brought to you by Patreon. Join Jay's Iyagi's Patreon today for access to exclusive Telegram Patreon chats and perks. So I was actually not going to make this video, but I thought I would make a video for you guys because these units are truly amazing units and they are going back next Tuesday. So I thought I would make a quick video to let you guys know about what these are. So these are the AudioNote M2 Phono / Pre-amplifier that I've been rocking with the Vindicator Silver amplifier. Now, interesting enough, I've also reviewed the AudioNote Tonmeister, which is the integrated amplifier from AudioNote, and it's priced around $19,000 which is a lot of money, but it was really amazing sounding. I mean, you can't get that bloom holographic sound from anywhere else. That AudioNote sound is inherent to the AudioNote amplifiers and units. And I know some of you may be thinking like, well, he's being pretentious, he's being, price, right? But aside from price, I've heard units that are much more expensive than AudioNote units. And you know me, I've expressed that in my AudioNote Tonmeister review as well. I was never really a fan of AudioNote because of how it looked. And that's kind of like the bias, right? You look at something, it looks nice, then you try it and you like it or you don't. But when you don't like the look of something, that changes your mind. When you hear it, it's something rare. So I found that to be interesting with the Tonmeister. I just absolutely fell in love with the sound characteristic of that thing, even though it was low powered, 8 watts per channel. And wait until I tell you how much power the Vindicator Silvers put out, because that's gonna make your head scratch a lot more. But price wise, we're sitting around the similar price point for the M2 Phono / Pre-amplifier plus the Vindicator Silver against the Tonmeister. So the M2 Phono is about $9,000 and the Vindicator Silver is about $10,000. So we're sitting around exactly $19,000. So that is about the same as the Tonmeister. So what is better? Should I go with the M2 Phono, or should you go with the M2 Phono / Silver Vindicator, or should you get the Tonmeister instead? Well, there's no simple answer, and I'll tell you that. No matter how I've been scratching my head to explain this, there's really no simple answer because sonically it's slightly different, and which I will explain in this video. But also, I think it really comes down to this, right? The M2 Phono has a phono stage. So if you like turntables, like I have a turntable right here, and I've been using this turntable for a while, love this turntable, absolutely love it. It is by a company called Pure Fidelity, and they make some amazing looking rocking turntables, really high end. So that's my reference. So I've been using turntables, rocking out some LPs from the past, just absolutely in love with the music selection I have from my mother, that was handed down to me to her from my grandfather and then handed down to me. So just absolutely in love with that. So really the question is, do you need a phono stage? And that is what it comes down to mainly, because the Tonmeister that I reviewed was a line stage, and they do make a phono added to the line stage version of the Tonmeister, but that's like $24,000. So we're not talking about the same price point anymore. But if you want, in my opinion, a better sounding unit, at least to me, I feel like the Tonmeister is a better sounding unit than what I have here with the M2 and the Silver Vindicator. So if you want something that sounds better, but also a phono stage, and money is not really a problem, then the $24,000 Tonmeister phono version would be a better choice in my opinion. But if you have $19,000 and that's like the budget, like that is it, and you want to look at the Tonmeister line stage versus the Phono M2 and the Vindicator Silver, then you need to start asking questions like, do I need a phono stage? And the answer is yes, the M2 Phono Pre-amplifier does have a phono stage. It has a rocking phono stage. I've been, like I said, rocking it with my turntable. Sounds absolutely wonderful. The full bloom, the AudioNote sound is there. And that full bloom sound is, by the way, is hard to explain, right? It's holographic, it fills the room, it makes these speakers sing, and really holographic surrounding sound, as if you have a surround sound setup. It's just really amazing, and it's not something you get with every tube amplifier, nor do you get it from anywhere else, despite the price point. Just scratch this price point. I'm not saying that because these are expensive units. And I think that's one of the hardest things, right? When you look at a high price thing, you're like, oh, that reviewer is saying that because it's a high price point, item. Well, I've tested high priced gear, speakers, you name it. Hell, as some of you might know, I used to sell, at a high-end retail store, some of these expensive gear and trying it out and all that kind of stuff. So it's really not about the price that I'm saying these sound great and these do something that magically is better than anything else I've ever heard in that kind of way, the holographic full bloom effect. And you know, I love it. I just love it. But back to it, the Tonmeister, again, 8 watts per channel, not a ton of power, so you need sensitive speakers. But you need a lot more sensitive speakers if you are in a bigger space with the Vindicator. The Vindicator Silver I have here is 3.5 watts of power into 4 ohms or 8 ohms, which is not a lot of power. And even in my room, it cannot drive majority of the speakers here. It can only drive sensitive speakers, like at least 91, 92 dB in sensitivity is what I'm talking about. And so when you put that into context, it's really not about which one is better for the price, but it's more about what you need, right? Do you have sensitive speakers? Do you have a audio note speaker, right? Because audio note speakers are very, sensitive. So that's what they were made for. So that's really the question. But when it can power the speakers, I mean, the sound is just beautiful, absolutely glorious. And it really has to do with the sound staging. It really has to do with that full bloom effect. And you get that in the Tonmeister, but you get that here as well. And it's not like one gets less than the other. I feel like they're both equally great in that holographic sound staging surrounding sound effect that simply is mouth-watering. And of course, I have heard other gear that does this 3D holographicness I'm talking about, but not to an extent that the Audio Note does. And if you have owned or heard Audio Note, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And for some of you that have not, you may be like, oh, he's full of crap. And that's okay too. If you don't like what I'm talking about, that is perfectly fine and valid thing. We all have different preferences. Now, like I said, if you like something clean, something really analytical, if you like something that is not tube amplifier, right? Because these are tube preamplifier and tube amplifiers, as you can see evidently. So if you're not about that, then that's okay too. These are not gonna be a reference like detail, retrieval, very clean amplifiers. These are gonna be musical. These are gonna be what people call that tube sound, right? That holographicness, a little bit more smooth, right? It's not gonna have the edged details or perfect imagery like a really good measuring amplifier or solid state amplifiers with bombastic bass and stuff like that. These are gonna have a smooth bass. But like I said, one thing that surprises me about Audio Note tube gear is that the bass is not lackluster whatsoever. It's not slow, it's not sloppy. It just has a really nice extension, like if you have a open baffle subwoofer, for example, right? It doesn't load the room like it would load the room in a box design with pressurizing the room and that kind of effect, but it kind of like lends itself to more of a extended but room filling sound that doesn't really pressurize or chest pounding, but it's linear, it's there, you can hear the bass and it's satisfying. So that's kind of the bass you get with these, and I like that. I like that quite a bit. Now don't get me wrong, I love chest pounding bass, but this is really nice, especially for jazz music, vocals. Oh, just glorious. Absolutely love it. It's just really, really good. Every time I hear it, it just keeps drawing me back because it's so musical. Every album I have, it turns it into this beautiful, buttery, smooth sound that I can sit and listen for hours. Long-term listening, not a problem with these. I absolutely love them. But the reason I say Tonmeister is better is because I find the Tonmeister to really capitalize on that overall warmness, that overall beautiful smoothness sound, right? So when I hear the Tonmeister, I'm just melting. I'm just melting in my chair, and it's just like eyes going back, just hair standing up, just beautiful holographic sound. It's glorious. That's how I say it. Like I feel like a king sitting in a chair, and I feel like if I close my eyes, I feel like there's like zillion speakers around me just playing beautiful music all across. I hear saxophones, like I hear 3D imagery where like saxophones are going by and singers are going by, and it's beautiful. It's really nice. It's a trip. But with the Vindicator Silver and the M2 Phono, I do get that, but I do get more detail. It's a little bit more crisp. It's a little bit more detail. It's a bit more clean. And I think some people may really like that. And I do like that on some tracks, except for really poorly recorded tracks, right? On recordings that's mastered well, I mean, they're just beautiful. But when it comes to some recordings that's not mastered well, you hear the noise floor, it picks up on that a little bit more than the Tonmeister, in my opinion. the sound is a little bit different as well, right? Because we're using different tubes. Like the mid-range is a little bit more cleaner on this combination than the Tonmeister. The Tonmeister can be a little bit, the criticism with some people that I've heard that own the Tonmeister is that the mid-range is a little bit grainy, right? It's not grainy with the Vindicator Silver because the Vindicator Silver is much more, not much more, but a little bit more kind of cleaner in the mid-range. So there's a little bit of difference, right, with that kind of thing. But the Vindicator is a little bit more delicate with the vocals too. Like you hear a lot more detail than the Tonmeister, even though the details are already there. It's just a little bit more evident on the Vindicator Silver than the Tonmeister. So a little bit of differences. But the sound overall, the sound profile is still audio note, and more or less it's the same. And that's probably because they follow the similar kind of idea, the theory behind their brand, right? They don't want anything to sing the path like phase inverting or correction in any of their DACs or preamplifiers or amplifiers. They just kind of go for that purity approach, right? And if you read the AudioNote website, I don't have to read it for you, it's very evident that they don't like, messing around with the signal. They just want input, output, simple circuitry, and really well-designed valve amplification. So anyways, the point being here, the point being here is that the organic sound, and I hate that word, I use that word a lot, but the idea of the word organic, right, it's that purity factor, right? The fact that you hear something and it seems like it's just organic, right? You eat something, you bite into an apple and it's organic, like it seems fresh. And that's kind of like what you get with the audio note. And like I said, it's not gonna be for everyone. It's definitely not going to be for people that don't have sensitive speakers, and it's definitely not going to be for people that like a clean sound, reference sound, linear sound, well-measuring sound. That's not going to be it, right? It's not going to be a reference studio, type of gear. So it's not going to be for everyone. But for musical entertainment, I mean, I just, for me, right? It's about my journey. This channel is about my journey. For me, I just love the audio note sound. I mean, should we talk about the build or the look? I don't like it. I still don't like it. That's something that I have to get over if I ever want to buy audio note myself. I just don't like the look. And some people said they like the minimalistic look, and maybe it's just me. I don't know, but I just don't like the look. And I think the build quality could be better for the money I'm paying, the money that AudioNote is asking, for these kind of units. But one thing I do have to give AudioNote for is the tone, the balance control, right? So the balance control just from left to right channel, so that if you don't have the speakers perfectly set up symmetrically, then you don't get a channel imbalance, right? Have you ever had that? I've had it plenty of times where I couldn't set up a speaker in a symmetrical fashion, and I had one speaker like towed out towards this side and the other one towed towards the other side. It was weird kind of setup. And I had a channel imbalance, right? The left channel was louder than the right channel, vice versa. And I wasn't getting that phantom center. I was not getting that dead-on center imaging. And so I like it, and I talked about this with Otto and other units that have this. I like it when it has that balance control. It really makes me able to fine adjust that phantom center, so I get very pinpoint center imaging so that the vocals are coming directly from the center. And that kind of helps with my OCD. So that's pretty much it from the build. Oh, of course, you can't forget, everything inside as well as outside is audio note. The binding post, the plugs, the RCA plugs, everything is the capacitors, the transformers, everything is audio note. And again, there's very few, if any, companies that do that. So that is a definite plus. They have the ultimate control in what they're doing because they're designing everything from scratch for their components to sound exactly how they want it, of course. So that's there, and that's a definite plus. That's a fact that I absolutely love about AudioNote products. Also, I just happen to get silver units, but I think the black units look much more attractive, both for the amplifier, the Tonmeister, and the Phono. Just saying. I think the black ones are much more attractive. So maybe I can live with those. Maybe. But before I let you go, another thing to consider is that the M2 Phono / preamplifier, they do have a balanced version, right? So it's more money, of course, As you go up, every time you want something more out of audio note, it's more money. So the balance, yes, there is XLR. So that's good for long lengths of cables if you absolutely want XLR or balanced design. For me, not critical unless I'm running like really long lengths of cable, but that's something for you to consider because the Tonmeister, from my understanding, doesn't have a balanced version. So maybe you need a balanced design, balanced preamplifier, and so the M2 Phono does have a balanced version for more money, of course. And so listen, that's pretty much it. I mean, I could go on and on about what speaker I use and all that kind of stuff, but the reality is that as long as your speakers are sensitive, I've tested with multiple sensitive speakers that came in here over the past 6 months that I had the audio notes system, and I have to say, like, every single one sounded good, and every single one of them is as I described, giving that full bloom soundstage, holographic imagery, just crazy stuff. Absolutely love that tube sound. If you like that tube sound, this is really a good option, especially in the high-end category where everything is like detail. I really like the fact that they're going for musicality, they're going for that purity factor, they're going for that, holographic, magical tube sound, usually doing wonderful things with that valve technology. I love that. But listen, I do know that, not everyone can afford a $19,000 combination or an integrated amplifier. So I do have a very musical sounding, much less priced integrated tube amplifier that's coming up. So I look forward to doing that review. So make sure to subscribe. There's a little teaser for you, and make sure to click that like button if you enjoy this video. And I'll see you guys on the next one, the next time.